afternoon. Thank you. And thank you for joining us for our June Raleigh Transportation Authority meeting starting at 3:35 p.m. June 10th, 2021. The governor has issued executive orders requiring individuals to remain in their homes except for certain activities, closing many businesses to the public and prohibiting any gatherings which do not comply with its terms. Because of the risk to public that would arise from continued in-person meetings pursuant to NCGS 166A-19.24, the city is converting Raleigh Transit Authority meetings to a remote electronic format for the duration of the state of emergency. All votes may be counted by a roll call. Just had it. Sorry. Too many things on my screen and I can't find what I'm looking for. All right, so I'll call roll. Please certify your presence. Nathan Spencer.
Here.
Karen Renge. Michael Stevenson.
Here.
Sarah Prado. Jennifer Truman. Morris Cook.
Here.
Brian Burnett. Joshua Gill.
Here.
And LaPonda Edmondson.
Here.
Thank you. Do we have our city council liaison, Councilman Branch, here today? Okay, we do have quorum. Would anybody like to take a moment to approve the minutes for May?
I'll make a motion. This is Nathan Spencer.
I'll second. Michael Stevenson.
All right, it's been moved and properly seconded to approve the minutes for May. I'm going to do a roll call for count. Nathan Spencer.
Aye.
Michael Stevenson.
Aye.
Morris Cook.
Aye.
Joshua Gill.
Aye.
LaPonda Edmondson.
Aye.
And I as well, Tallulah Lokaye. Are there any additions to the agenda today?
Yes, so we do have them shown on the screen here, but we did not have them posted in time on board docs. So we do want to officially state that we'll be adding 2 items from staff. One will be a conversation about our Go Raleigh fleet conversion to alternative fuels. And the second will be the BRT Newbern Avenue Advanced Design update from the BRT team.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so we also want to make sure that we sign the committee assignments for the RTA. I know that David spoke to some of you all about your assignments, LaPonda. You're the only new person, I think. So since we don't have the other people, we'll just hold that over till our next meeting, since the other 2 are not here. All right, and we want to take a brief moment to recognize Michael Stevenson. He has served on the RTA for some time. He is one of the veterans here. His term is expiring, and we are truly going to miss him and his expertise and his grounded wisdom. And I know that the staff there have something they want to present to you.
Well, thanks to me. Actually, they gave it to me. It's a nice plaque, if you can see it. So, yeah, it's been a great experience. I've really enjoyed meeting all of you, getting to know you, working with you. And 6 years goes by fast, so enjoy it while you're doing it. And I wish you all the best. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for your service. And you and I mean that from the bottom of my heart, truly be missed.
Thanks. Thank you. I'll miss all you guys too. We'll stay in touch.
Awesome. You're welcome to come back to the meetings though, always. Your advice is always welcome.
All right. Thank you.
All right. So we're going to jump into our action items with the Glenwood Corridor Route Package.
All right, and this is David Walker with the City of Raleigh Transit Division. I do want to recognize Ms. Jennifer Truman, board member, has joined the meeting. Saw her pop up there. I'm not sure if anybody else has or not, but Ms. Truman has joined the meeting.
Thank you.
So the Glenwood corridor route package, we've been talking about this service for quite some time. It unfortunately got delayed from being implemented last year due to the pandemic and COVID. But you can see on your screen here the history of the subject. It's been talked about regularly, especially over the last 3 to 4 months. We've done public engagement. We brought it to route committee in May, and we brought it to route committee in June. Unfortunately, we did not have a quorum at route committee last week. So we're bringing this direct to the board for consideration as an action item to review for the implementation of this service. Next slide is a quick map of what the service looks like. Our number 6 Crabtree route and our 70X Briar Creek. Just very briefly, the Glenwood route does not change other than we're cranking up the frequencies to every 15 minutes from basically 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday with 30-minute frequencies on Sundays. It's also receiving some extended span, so it will be operating later at night up until about midnight. And similarly on the Briar Creek 70X route, that becomes hourly service all day with service up through 11 p.m. at night. And it will serve a couple of new residential areas in the Oak Park community and off of Country Trail and Marvino Lane on the east side of 70 there. The connection point does change to Pleasant Valley Shopping Center. And on the next slide, I think we'll talk about comments a little bit that we've received. Actually, this is a timeline where we're at. We are here at the board, obviously today, presenting. And then the next slide goes into our comments. So because of the delay with COVID, we've actually had 2 outreach efforts, one from 2020 and then another one this spring. We've received about 35 total comments, equally split between last year and this year. Overwhelming majority of the comments are positive. Some of the negative comments that we did receive were in regards to the change in transfer location from Crabtree Valley Mall up to Pleasant Valley Shopping Center. But we really needed to do that to make this a successful route on the 70X. It has pretty poor on-time performance as it operates today because it's such a long route. So shortening the route a little bit and adding the additional residential areas adds a lot of positive to the route, and staff felt good about continuing to move forward with it, even though we did receive a couple of negative comments. And the next slide shows very similar comments and numbers for our engagement efforts this year. All comments were attached in board docs. If you hopefully you had time to review all of those and read through them, but they again were overwhelmingly very positive, including some of the I believe it's Healing Transitions Center out on 70X for the I think that's the women's center. So next slide is where we ask if you have any questions. I'll offer Mr. Spencer, the chair of the route committee, an opportunity to speak up since this was in his committee and unfortunately they weren't able to vote. But Mr. Spencer, if you have anything to add, we're glad to hear it.
If it pleases the chair, the committee looked into this on multiple occasions over the past year. We've picked it apart a couple times and we've been pretty happy with it. So had we had quorum, we definitely would have moved this to you all with approval.
Madam Chair, I would just add that Morgan Simmons has also done the Title VI analysis for this. And so that she'll be presenting that later, but that's also been completed.
Okay. Are there any questions around this Glenwood Corridor route package? It stops and connections. If not, we can go ahead and take a vote. Anybody like to?
I'll make a motion. This is Nathan Spencer. I'll make a motion to approve the Glenwood route package.
This is LaPonda. I'll second that.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly seconded. We're going to go ahead and register the vote. Nathan Spencer,
Aye.
Michael Stevenson,
Aye.
Jennifer Truman,
Aye.
Morris Cook,
Aye.
Joshua Gill, is Joshua still online? LaPonda Edmondson,
Aye.
and I, Tallulah Pamlikai. So the motion has been passed for the Glenwood Corridor Route Package.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and it looks like we're moving on to information items, the New Bern Avenue BRT Advanced Design.
All right, this is David Walker, City of Raleigh. I think we have the Go Raleigh fleet conversion lined up
Okay.
next.
I apologize. Yeah, I'm looking at the website. Sorry about
All right.
that.
No problem. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to move on to the fleet conversation update,
Okay.
conversion update, excuse me.
So, and since we have a lot of new board members, we felt it would be a good opportunity to give a quick update on this conversation. Back in 2016 and 2017, the city did a compressed natural gas study to determine if it would be feasible to do a conversion of our fleet from biodiesel and diesel fuels over to CNG. Next slide. And that was completed in 2016 and discussed really for close to a year. There was a lot of questions from the board at the time about different things. A supplement was completed and published in February of 17. And on the next slide, you'll see that we brought this to the board in March of 2017, and the board did adopt a policy to convert all of the Go Raleigh fleet from diesel fuel to a target of 75% of the fleet to CNG and 25% of the fleet to other new and emerging technologies. So the next slide shows where we are today. Our fleet conversion, we currently have 103 fixed route buses, and 40 of those are CNG, so 39% of the fleet as of today are converted in CNG. And this week, actually, we had 8 new CNG buses go on the production line at the Gillig facility out in California. And we anticipate receiving that next shipment of 8 buses in the next 45 to 60 days. So by late July, we'll be at about 45% of our fleet will be CNG. And then we're working on a purchase order as we speak for another 6. And that procurement will bump us up to 53%. And then in July, we get another funding amount of allocation from the Wake Transit Plan to purchase another 15 buses. And those will be CNG as well, and put us up to about 66% of the fleet converted to CNG by the end of 2022. So what does that mean as we move forward? What are some of the positives from this? Next slide. CNG is quite a bit less expensive than diesel fuel, and this is a chart that we've been tracking since day one of our first CNG bus hitting the road. The green bar on this chart is the actual dollar savings of CNG over diesel fuel. So the number of buses operating on the road and the CNG that's being purchased versus diesel fuel, what diesel fuel cost would have been. You can see if you look at those green bars, the monthly amounts that we saved by using CNG equipment. So in 2019, a total of $268,000 was saved by this CNG conversion. Next slide. In 2020, we saved about $310,000 through this CNG conversion. And on the next slide, So far through 21, we've saved about $125,000 for a total $709,000 year program initiation to date on CNG, and that's just on funding and fuel cost savings. So it has turned out to be a good venture as far as our operational costs and our efficiencies, which allows us to, in the long range, do new and fun and additional things such as the Glenwood package that we just passed. Another thing to look at, and on the next slide, just sort of sets up what I'll talk about on the slide to come. You may not know it or realize it, but a typical passenger car, such as the one you may have in your driveway, emits about 4.6 metric tons of carbon dioxide every year. And that's assuming a vehicle that averages about 22 miles per gallon and drives 11,000 miles a year. Well, that's a lot of greenhouse gases just from one vehicle that get put into the atmosphere. And on the next slide, we're going to brag a little bit. Our Go Raleigh fleet of 40 CNG buses. In the upper right there, you'll see all 40 buses, CNG, from the first day they started driving on the road to current, have emitted a total of 2.2 tons of CO2. So a lot of people don't realize that CNG is a near zero emission engine, but 40 CNG buses emitted less carbon dioxide than one passenger vehicle. So that's a big plus of purchasing CNG. And just below that, you'll see, had we not made this conversion and those 40 buses remain diesel fuel, we would have released over 9,200 tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. So the actions that this board has taken over the years is proving to help save the world and get us into a greener place. So we appreciate the work and efforts that this board has done to get us where we are today. And next slide, I think, is one for just questions. Oh, actually, I'm about to forget about the electric bus project. So let's see, go back one. Did we skip one? Yeah. So now we're going to talk about electric buses real quickly. Back in May of 2019, our transit staff applied for a federal low-no emission grant. The city was awarded $1.6 million towards the purchase of 5 electric vehicle buses and charging infrastructure. We also received a grant from Duke Energy for $200,000 towards electric charging infrastructure. Next slide. We procured those 5 buses from Proterra Bus out of Greenville, South Carolina. And we now have 2 40-foot buses and 3 35-foot buses on the yard down at Pool Road. We still have some work to do on those, as Go Raleigh will be painting them in-house themselves. So it's going to be a little while before we can get those buses on the road. And then hopefully at some point we'll quietly begin testing those buses later in July. Our charging infrastructure construction project wrapped up just about a week or 2 ago. There's still just a little bit of certifications that has to be done just to make sure everything is signed off on. And we expect that to be all wrapped up in the next 30 days. Part of the charging infrastructure project also included a purchase of some charging software management software. And what that does is it manages when the buses get charged. So at the end of the day, our maintenance and utility folks will park the bus at the charging stations and plug them in, and it will not start charging until off-peak hours. So we can program it so that it charges only in those off-peak hours to, again, save on our operating expenses and get us those lower electricity charge rates from Duke Energy. And next slide. And so this just talks a little bit about our total fleet conversion. And when we get the next 8 CNG buses in that I mentioned, they're already on the production line this week, our fleet will be 50% converted to low or zero emission vehicles. So we feel like that's a big accomplishment. It took us a little while after the Transit Authority got passed the policy to start this conversion, but we had to put a bid out for the CNG equipment, and then we had to put a bid out for the electrical equipment. So it takes a little bit of time to go through the procurement process and everything. But as of the end of July, 50% of our fleet will be low or zero emission. So we're proud of that fact, and just wanted to make sure that our board was aware of where we stand and where we're heading in the future. And with that, we'll ask if anybody has any questions. Actually, I'm sorry, go back one more. I'm trying to jump ahead. One of the reasons we did want to bring this to your attention is the city is planning a Go Green event, and I named it. That's probably not what it's going to be, but that's what I'm calling it for now, is Go Green. This event is being planned for sometime around the middle of August. We don't have a set date yet, but it will promote the Go Raleigh fleet conversion. It will promote our new electric buses. It will promote the Raleigh water anaerobic digester. And if you don't know what that is, it takes all of it covers the storage tanks for the sewage water, and instead of letting it emit gases into the atmosphere, it collects it. It basically goes through a chemical process and converts it into renewable natural gas that gets inserted into the Dominion Energy pipeline, and then we will be purchasing renewable natural gas from Raleigh Water to use in our Go Raleigh buses. And the estimates at this point are that once they get that up and running in late 2022, early 23, they will be injecting enough renewable natural gas to fuel 50 of our CNG buses. So the city is putting together this event. Our communications department, the Office of Sustainability, and our own, obviously, our transit staff are in this. It's a joint planning effort for this program. So we'll get this date out to you as soon as it gets set, but we'd love to have the Transit Authority board members on site when we have this event and celebrate this event with us. And now I'll ask if you have any questions.
Hey, David.
Yes.
So is that gas that comes from the digester? Can you still hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can it go directly into the pipeline, or does it have to be conditioned or anything like that?
That's what that anaerobic digester is doing. Is it's capturing the gases straight from the storage facility, and then it goes through I'm not a chemist. I'm going to say it goes through a scrubbing process to convert it and get it to the point where it's injectable directly into the Dominion Energy pipeline. So when it goes into that pipeline, it is usable gas.
Okay. And what do we do with the diesel buses when we replace them with the CNG buses?
So we're not taking any diesel buses out of service early. You know, when we get our Federal Transit Administration dollars to fund our buses, you know, they require we purchase a 12-year bus. And so as those buses are cycling out at their 12-year mark, we replace them with CNG or electric equipment. To specifically answer your question, we typically list those buses on govdeals.com and we sell them.
Thank you.
This is Nathan Spencer. I just want to reiterate, because I think the anaerobic digester is such a humongous deal, that by Wake County largely Wake County using our toilets, our 50 of our buses will basically be no carbon polluting, because what we will be doing, what our waste will basically be fueling that, and it's a complete cycle, and it's pretty amazing.
That digester is David Walker, again, City of Raleigh. That's a very interesting project, and if at some point the board wanted to get a quick presentation from Raleigh Water on exactly how that process works, we'd be glad to talk to them and invite them over.
That would be interesting. So thank you for that presentation. Are there any questions? Any additional questions about our fleet conversion? All right, thank you. So it is 4 o'clock. We're going to pause so we can take public comment. I know we have about 3. I have a quick question. If somebody wants to, just because I've been asked also, if somebody wants to make a public comment but didn't have a chance to sign up in advance, are they still able to?
In order to be on the call and able to speak, they had to go through, they had to submit, and we had to go through a process to give them access to the call. So just, unless they've gone through that process, then they wouldn't be able to actually speak unless they happen to be, on somebody else's, in the room with somebody that is on the call.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. Who do we have for public comments?
Andrea, there you go.
We have Dwight Spencer up first. Dwight, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yep, perfect. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I want to first of all, very quickly, say to Mr. Michael Stevens, thank you, Mr. Stevens, for your service to the citizens of Raleigh and Wake County. And you have always been politically correct. So I want to say thank you for your service. And I wish you the best in your next endeavor, and always keep transit on your heart.
Thank you very much. Nobody's ever. Yes, thank you.
No, okay. I want to first of all say that I want to come just give you a brief update about something, but I hope that all of you have received our response from the general manager, Brian Memorandum. I sent it over to Mr. David Eaton, and I asked him to make sure that y'all had our response, and I hope that you had a chance to review it. It's not intent for any open dialogue, and I do want to thank you for the May 13th open dialogue as well. I appreciate, on behalf of the association, we appreciate that to the utmost. Lastly, I want to give you an update on the trial, on this upcoming possibly trial. I was given an ultimatum by my attorney, North Carolina House of Representative Abe Jones, which you all know these charges was dismissed on June the 22nd. The assistant district attorney picked it back up for whatever reason he thought he could pick it up, and indicted me, okay, on these 7 false allegations from the managers at Go Raleigh headquarters on Poole Road. So I think you need to know this because you serve the citizens of Raleigh and Wake County. So I was given an ultimatum through my attorney, Representative Abe Jones, and the assistant DA gave me an ultimatum of take a plea or be arraigned for trial. And quite obviously, I'm not going to take a plea because I didn't do anything wrong. If I'm guilty of anything, I'm guilty for speaking up and standing up for the bus operators and transit workers here in Raleigh, North Carolina. So on behalf of the association, we will be going to trial if it go that far, which we hope. But I do want to make each authority members that was on the board during this 10 you, sadly to say, you will be hauled into court by the district attorney's office or either by my attorneys if this make it to trial as it stands. And I want you to clearly understand, transit authority members, this is not a Dwight Spencer creation. This is a creation of Mr. Morris Cook, the safety manager of TransDev, the former general manager, Marie Parker, and the assistant general manager, Matthew McCall. Now, this is their creation, and they are bringing you into their mess that they created. And we think that that's very disrespectful to you, the volunteers that was appointed by Raleigh City Council to be brought into a mess that they created. So I wanted to make you alert that you will be, if this make it to trial, which we hope the DA, tell her DA to squash it, because the DA does not have a case. And they think by me wanting me to plead that they will make a case. They don't have a case. That's number one. And number two, before I leave you, I can't say I apologize to you, because if I do, I'll be apologizing on behalf of Transdev. And I'm not going to apologize, but I think that you should not be brought into their mess. This is their mess, and they need to weasel their way out of it without bringing you, the Transit Authority members, into it. I did run this by City Councilman Corey Branch, and he did share with me what would happen if that be the case. And I hope that you all are not happy about it, because you are here to serve the transit. You are here to serve the citizens of Raleigh and Wake County, and to make sure that their needs are met. And again, on behalf of this association, and I'm here this afternoon with the president of this association, Mr. Herbert Chambers, I want to say thank you to every Transit Authority member for your support for the bus operators and transit workers, and the Transit Workers Association look forward to working with the city transit staff and Mr. Nathan Spencer. We're even going to look forward to working with you with Go Wake Up, with Go Wake. So we're looking forward to being advocates for the city of Raleigh Transit, to make sure that the needs of the citizens are met here in Raleigh and Wake County. We are so excited in the direction that this transit is going in. And I do want to thank you on behalf of the association once again. But the city council will be receiving our packages that we will be presenting to them on tomorrow. And so I will hope that they will consider and not having this management back again, even though we know it's a bidding process. But to bring you into a mess they created is totally disrespectful. And I hope the best. And again, Mr. Michael Stevens, thank you for your service. Thank you, Mr. Tulupe, for your leadership. And thank you all. And may you all have a pleasant afternoon.
Thank you for that, Dwight. Does anybody have any comments or add in? Okay. Who else do we have for public comments?
Rashonda was supposed to join us, but I don't see her. So next up we have Terrence Dewberry. Terrence, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you all for allowing me to speak. I just wanted to come to address a couple of issues that was brought to my attention from the previous meeting, and try to clarify some of the points. First of all, giving honor to the chair and the board, we appreciate your service, and Mr. Stevens, we appreciate your service as well. I have reviewed some of the information, and of course there's, I've been told that there's 3 sides to the story. I reviewed talking points for Mr. Dwight Spencer. I have yet to review the response from the company, but a lot of the information on the talking points of Mr. Spencer is accurate, and we have not ever stated any otherwise. The reinstatement of Mr. Hodge on his grievance was filed by the union, and in support of his co-workers, he was returning to work. We felt that at that time his First Amendment rights were violated by the company and retaliated against it. He's been returned to work, although there's still things that resonates in that department that we're working on. Secondly, it's been stated prior to the administration and management that based on the city of Raleigh and upper management and middle management had violated some of the work rules of Go Raleigh or Transdev, and we're in agreement with that. We have documentation stating that there was not equal treatment to the employees versus management for same violations or more serious violations. And we do feel that it is in previous years have been bias and favoritism. So we're trying to work with this management team to alleviate some of these problems, but that's the facts. It has been and is continuing to be an issue as we speak. division, one department against another, one employee against another, trainers against employees. It's something that we've got to resolve, whether with this management or whoever the board elects for the next management contract. We're not here to endorse or not endorse a candidate. They're management companies, and we expect them to abide by our collective bargaining agreement. We do have documentation of misleading information with COVID. You know, there was a situation with TTA, and the company posted a video of a utility worker, and let me get the correct phrasing, was fogging the bathroom down at Raleigh Station. We investigated that situation because if you're doing fogging, we suggest that the worker have a mask on. The worker did not have a mask on. It's on the Raleigh page. And when we investigated, the employee stated that they were not fogging. It was spraying water. That's misleading to the public, as well as, you know, the employees of safety conditions. There's other situations that's been inconsistent during the period of time of COVID, and we've talked back and forth with management, and management does have rights. We found that out the hard way, that they have rights.
Rosanda has joined the meeting.
But employees have rights too, so safety environment. Right now, we've had at least 25 confirmed COVID situations. And could that have been prevented? I don't know. But we don't feel that we've been led down the right path as far as transparency with these, with the COVID situation. And we're, fortunately, we're hopefully to the end of that situation. But we have verified that there's been misleading situations as far as COVID. We won't respond to the Mr. Wilson situation. He's a road supervisor. I'm sure that he's handling that situation on his own or with the his advisors. Additionally, things that have recently come to our attention, that we have a payroll issue. Now, this issue has existed prior to the current GM, and to his credit, he clarified some issues. That it was the payroll system that was misapplying the overtime for the employees who worked during this pandemic and kept and put themselves at risk, and was not properly paid. We have confirmed with management, Mr. Bryant, that he will make these people whole, and we want to put that on the record as of today. That's his promise. Additionally, we've been told that the safety bonus was suspended by the city due to financial restraints, but we have no history from the meetings that you all voted to amend the budget from 2020. We would like for Mr. Eatman to release those funds for the people who risk their life to transport and serve this community for our safety bonus. People have been safe during this pandemic time. They deserve what has been agreed upon from the 2020 budget. Lastly, well, no, not lastly, we have an employee situation that has creeped up within the triangle. All transit agencies have been affected, and fortunately, we have enough bodies to service the community. And I'm sure that the job fair that was held should create more employees at Go Raleigh and all the other agencies. However, we've analyzed our numbers, and we've had about 64 people leave within 6 months. We only hired about 19. And if we're doing that, the math about how many people, if we take 64 employees at $5,000 per person to train, that's $320,000. we must do better on training and retaining our staff. And I think that management and I are in agreement with that. And we should work towards that. But otherwise, if the numbers continue the way they are, we're not going to have enough bodies to service the public. And lastly, with the, I guess, the current working relationship or working conditions is our concern as the union about safety. And the safety situation that happened in San Jose, California, was created our working conditions. And we must keep our employees safe. Otherwise, we are putting them at risk of employee actions that could lead to someone losing their life. We want to address these situations, these working conditions, because I want to go home to my family and everyone else does too. I think that we are in communication with management to try to resolve those hostilities. However, we're not there. And that's my report. I'll be glad to provide any documentation or information that the board requests. Thank you for my time.
Thank you. Dewberry, it's a bit dispersed. You're saying that, just so I'm clear on that, there's supposed to be a release. I hear it really bad.
Is that me or you?
I don't know. You're saying there's supposed to be a release of a safety bonus from payroll that you all have not received.
Yes.
And you're saying that some of the safety measures that we're seeing that we're doing, like fogging the bathrooms, are not happening. They're just being sprayed with water.
Well, at the time of the video, and I think the video was released in March, at the time of the incident with TTA, the first known public transit test. And of course, it's my duty, and I'm gonna tell the truth, to investigate and make sure that we're as safe as possible. And if you can research it and find out the purchase order of the fogging machines that was purchased by Go Raleigh, if it was of that date of the video, it was my information that that was not fogging. And if it was fogging, there's still a safety issue because the person in the video does not have a mask on or a backpack that's normally associated with fogging. Now, so that's on the Facebook page, and we're concerned. This is our lives. It's nothing to play with. It's not about numbers. It's about people.
Hi, this is Andrea Epstein. I did that social post. That is my fault. I did not realize that was not fogging versus water. I am certainly not an expert in that, and I will remove that right now. It was posted, I believe the date I have here, I'll have to pull it up, but it was at the beginning of the pandemic, and that is completely my fault, and I will remove it.
But I guess the bigger question is, if the guy was spraying water, so was the guy in the, like at the bathroom at the station spraying water, and the guy in the video didn't have a pack on?
It's a lady, and again, it's my fault, as I clearly don't know the difference between fogging and water washing down. This is clearly water washing down because she doesn't have the pack and she doesn't have a mask on, but on social, I stated fogging, which was clearly the wrong term.
No, I guess I'm asking, were we fogging though? And are we fogging?
No, that was me misinterpreting what she was doing, as I am not a cleaning expert.
But we were told that the bathrooms and things were being fogged.
That is correct. This particular video is not that.
Right, no, I'm not talking about the video anymore. I'm asking about whether or not we were actually fogging or misting the bathrooms in real life.
I would have to get in touch with maintenance staff to figure out exactly when they were fogging. The video being referred to on social is my fault for calling it fogging when it wasn't.
Thank you for that. But I'm just trying to figure out what was, not about the video anymore, but like what was really going on, because we've had these conversations and now and we were told that there were safety precautions being made and met for the operator and the station, but now we're hearing from the actual people, and it sounds like they're saying that that's not the case, not about the video. Yeah, there's a discrepancy there, but whether or not it was actually happening. Yes, Jen?
I was just going to say, could we request a report from staff about all of the relevant safety measures that are COVID related and what's ongoing, like so that we can get the answers from staff at our upcoming meeting?
Staff, this is David Walker. Staff can certainly do that. And I was about to jump in with one of my time marks. It's 4:20. We got a hard stop at 5. We've got about a 20-minute VRT presentation, and I think I think I heard the third person join the call potentially that wanted to make some comments. And then we've got a couple of action items out of the Finance and Policy Committee. So we can certainly, staff can gather the information from the comments that have been made by the public speakers and bringing that back. If you want to assign that to a particular committee, we can bring it to that committee first, or we can bring it to the board, whichever you would prefer.
I would prefer for the whole board. Dewberry, do you happen to have anything written up, like a report similar to what the White submitted with addressing these issues, so that we can have it in front of us and kind of address it from that perspective?
I can put one together. I'm not as, the White's report is very in-depth. I can put, what I wanted to do was respond to what I saw. And since the union was involved, we wanted to let, first of all, that we are aware of situations and that some of the, the information presented was accurate, and we wanted to clarify some of the things that may have been missed by that report. We don't have the response from the company. However, this is our report, and I can put one together if it so pleases the board.
Please do. Addressing all these issues, the problem with training and retaining staff, everything that you kind of addressed today, this way we can have something on paper in front of us that we can share out that covers over everything, so we're not missing what you're talking about, and then we can address this completely at our next meeting or at our retreat.
Down or again, or it may be my phone.
Oh, I was just saying that having something in our hand that you can email us that we can look at will make sure that we don't miss anything that you're saying, because these are important points that we want to make sure that we address, and then we can address them as a board, a total board at our next meeting or retreat, whichever comes first.
I will have that to you.
All right, thank you so much. And then I would like for you to maybe be on public comments for that one as well, so we can make sure that we're not missing anything if we have any questions.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. And you said that there's another person for public comment that may have chimed in, David?
Yeah, I believe I saw that somebody a third person dialed in. It may be the person that had signed up.
Rashonda, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you.
Hello, Rashonda.
Yes. Hi, how are you? This is Rashonda. I'm a Go Raleigh operator. I've been with Go Raleigh for 7 going on 8 years. And I have listened to you guys' meetings. I've been able to attend a couple meetings. And I just wanted to step in and say something as an employee who has been there through 3 general managers and speak on some of the issues that are going on at Go Raleigh and are continuing to go on at Go Raleigh. Everything that the White Spencer has said in his report is accurate and true. The White does not work at Go Raleigh. So there's no way that he could have the information that he has without getting it from the employees. The employees A lot of them are scared to speak up because they're afraid of the retaliation from management. That's not a lie. And you guys, I know, have witnessed, as Dewberry has spoke on, about the issue about Travis, which you guys know and are aware of, about what happened to him when he spoke up at one of the meetings. That's why you guys do not get a lot of the operators to speak up and tell you personally what is going on. There is division at that job. It has been. This was created by Marie Parker and her management staff, and some of them, most of them, are still there. If you walk into that building, you could feel the tense and the division between the operators there. That should not be. We have enough worrying about getting on these buses and safely transporting these passengers to and from where they need to go. We are fearful a lot of times of our lives when we're out there on the roads because we are picking up a lot of mental patients. They are on the street. We deal with a lot of homeless people that are off their medication and just have other issues going on. Then we have to deal with management. It's not a lie about the favoritism that goes on at Go Raleigh. It's not, none of that stuff that he has said is a lie. It's all true, and it's all going on, and it's continuing to go on. And we were really hoping that when a new general manager came in, that a change would come from that. And I know things take time. During COVID, and we're still in the middle of a pandemic, things are getting a little better, thank God, but we are still fearful of our health and our safety. These buses are not being cleaned. They are filthy. I have went to Brian, and told him and showed him a bus that I was getting ready to drive, how that bus had not been cleaned. I said I should not have to use my own money to buy supplies to clean this bus every day to make sure that I am safe and for my health. He told me that he had spoken to Tony in maintenance, and they were working on trying to get a place where they could get supplies to make sure the buses were clean. But we have a lot of employees that spend money, their own money, to clean these buses because they're not being cleaned. They're not being followed. So that is not true. And allegedly, from what I've heard, that when Marie was there, a driver took pictures and they forwarded them to Dwight, and that driver was threatened with her job because she provided pictures to show how filthy those buses were. Well, today I provided Dewberry with pictures of a bus and a shuttle car that were filthy. And this is not from a day. It looks from like weeks of not being properly cleaned. And it's scary. And like I told Brian, I came to work with nothing, and I'm not trying to take anything home to my family. I'm worried about my health and my safety. When I was out, my doctor took me out of work when the pandemic first hit because I am high risk. When I was out of work, I was threatened by my job with T. Simmons, the human resource manager, that if I did not return to work, even though I was under doctor's care, that I would lose my job and not be eligible for rehire because my doctor took me out of work. She stated that I took a leave of absence, which was not true. They put my name on a piece of paper as taking a leave of absence. I never signed a piece of paper taking a leave of absence from Go Raleigh. My doctor took me out of work, and I had all my documentation. I had to go through FMLA, and when I called FMLA, they told me that was not required because you are not being out under normal circumstances. I said, well, my job is being threatened. So I want to make sure that I am covered and I do not lose my job because my doctor has taken me out of work. And when I told T. Simmons, and I had a witness to our conversation, that I was under doctor's care, she made a comment that she did not care. I had one or three options. Either I'll return to work immediately, I could resign from my position, or I would be terminated and not be eligible to be rehired. There's a lot of intimidation there. Drivers feel like they are being harassed and they are being threatened. Drivers are not happy with the management that we have now. And that's just being honest about it. I just had an incident this past Monday when I went to work. I signed on to my run. The bus that was assigned to my paper, they told me, don't take that bus. You're going to take 1805. It should be on the yard. I went to the yard. 1805 was not on the yard. I called into dispatch to let them know the bus was not on the yard. She said, hold on, let me call M1 to see where that bus is. M1 has a bus. So she told me to go look for 2824. It should be over in the corner over there on the base. I said, okay, but there's 1314 right here on the lot. What's going on with this bus? Oh, we're holding it for training. Okay, I'll go over to 2824. The bus would not start, and it had a strong odor on the bus of mildew, mold smell. I called dispatch back, and I told her, this bus has a strong odor on this bus, and it will not start. She sent M1 over there to look at the bus. He told me to tell her to give me another bus. She said, well, I don't have anything else. Mind you, I had just seen 1314 on the yard and asked her what that bus was for, and she said she was holding it for a training bus. I didn't argue. I came right on back in and sat down. So she waited till Byron came in and had him to go out there to the bus. He comes back in. She calls me back into dispatch telling me, well, he said he didn't smell anything. Well, I'm telling you, I did. I am asthmatic. I smell mildew and mold. I cannot safely operate that bus. So he asked to speak to me. I went and we had a conversation. And basically what it came down to is either I was going to drive that 2824 or I was going to be sent home. I was sent home because I did not feel safe driving that 2824, knowing that I smelled mildew and mold on that bus and being asthmatic. I could not be around that. My rights were violated. With me having a medical disability, I fall up under ADA, and they violated my rights. I was sent home without pay and given an unexcused absence. And I don't think that's fair at all. Even though Mr. Dewberry told me today that there would be no disciplinary actions, but still my rights were violated. I was sent home. I came to work and reported to my duties. It was not my fault that they did not have buses out there for me to run my route. So the 722, number 15 on Monday was a missed trip because I was refused to give that. They refused to give me 1314 out on that yard and hold it for a training bus. And these routes are supposed to be covered first. These are the type of issues that we are dealing with at Go Raleigh. We are tired. We are tired. Tears are not stopping over there at Go Raleigh. People are still crying. People are still hurting. We want answers. We want resolution. We want something done. None of this is a lie. It's real. It is real, and people are tired. And my biggest fear is if something is not done with this management, the way they treat people, there's something bad that's going to happen over there. I pray it doesn't, but that's where it's headed because it's not right, and people are tired. They're messing with people's livelihoods, and it's not fair. It's not fair. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Rashonda. Okay, this is, to me personally, very disturbing. I think we've heard from two separate people, well, three, counting Dwight, that there seems to be some impending doom. what can we, I mean, I'm a little thrown because I feel like we're being told one thing from staff, and now we're being told something different from the operators. Is anybody else on the authority have anything to say about what we've been hearing?
This is Nathan Spencer. It's very clear that we've got an issue. If we've got a loss of 64 people, that's a high rate in a short span of time. That does not happen because, especially if they've raised pay, that does not happen generally because of just people being, unhappy with their job. It's because of other issues. So I would very much recommend, selfishly, I'd say have route committee. We weren't going to meet in July, but maybe we do meet in July and we sit and we speak to these operators and we get to a better understanding of what's going on. This is very clearly a serious issue. We've had similar issues in the past with Transdev. 2 years ago, these stories were eerily similar. So I'm disappointed, and especially while we're in the process of looking at a new contract, that makes it very disturbing to try to put something together while it sounds like operators are being threatened and being pushed into a bad situation, unhealthy situation. I do also want to add, I did not take what Rashonda said in her last statement as any means of a threat in case there's any concern. I think she's absolutely right. There's, high alert on all transit docks right now, and after San Jose, and I think that there's real concern for making sure that operators and maintenance staff are comfortable and happy.
I agree. I would hate for something to happen and we could have done something, especially in today's time. Jen.
I also just wanted to offer that we talked a bit about this at the Finance and Policy Committee meeting, and we had agreed to look at specifically like HR and safety criteria that we could include in the upcoming RFP for the management contract of metrics and goals and values that we would set as the city hiring the management company in this upcoming contract. And so we agreed to have that time in the Finance and Policy Committee meetings over the next, I know we have a break in some meeting times, and I think we even agreed to hold some special meetings about that topic. So I just wanted to put that forward. I don't know if the whole board is aware of that decision.
Hey, this is Michael. Yeah, what Jen said, I think that is the avenue we have if we want to address these kind of things, that we can work with staff in the solicitation and selection process for the next contract that'll be awarded. I would just caution us, we are not finders of fact here. And I mean, it's great to listen, it's great to hear about these concerns, and it's great to ask for a staff response and report to be informed as we can. But like Jen said, looking toward the future, as much as we can inform that selection process and make sure all these types of considerations are analyzed and prioritized in that decision-making process, I think we can have a meaningful role there.
I guess my concern is there's time between now and then, and I feel like there's some need for some sort of mediation in some way, because we have months between now and when the contract is up and whatever the vote is going to be. But it seems like there's something brewing now from the process of, I mean, there's things going on, dirty buses, unsafe conditions, loss of retention of workers. Like Nathan said, we're raising pay, wages, but we can't retain people. And My concern is if the contract isn't up and say we do bring in somebody new and that doesn't happen until next year, where there's still, months between now and then, before, while we're looking, I think that we kind of need to address an and both approach if we can. Is there a way that we can, there's only but so much we can do. We are a volunteer board, but I mean, the good thing is that we are to be non-biased. So is there a way, if it's not in our plate, in our hands as the authority, each individual member, but some way with staff, is there funds to bring in mediation? Like, because something needs to kind of happen sooner than later.
This is David Walker, City of Raleigh. Again, this is important conversation. There are grievance and arbitration and mediation opportunities between management and the union, and they exercise those on a regular and consistent basis as needed. Mr. Bryant can jump in and just comment if he needs to. I do need to just let the board know 5 o'clock. This meeting does have to end. RTN will cut off their public presentation. So the meeting cannot continue legally after 5 o'clock. We've got a 20-minute presentation and we've got a couple of action items. So, if we need to decide what we want to continue talking about, at this point, we certainly can do that.
So if Rashonda is still online, can you do the same thing I asked Dewberry to do and write up what you're saying, write a report to us so that we can have it in front of us so we can address this? I do think that we will need to meet in July, at least around this issue. If not, if that's a special meeting that we need to do as an authority. I know our retreat is in August, but I think this is something that we need to kind of get on sooner than that. So we can schedule some time for a special meeting in July for the authority for us to talk about this, for us to bring staff in, for us to try to see if we can get to some ground level on this, some leveling on this, because it seems like if they're using mediation and all of that, and this is still a problem, then that's a problem. Rashonda, are you still on? Did you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. I'm still here and I can do that.
All right, thank you very much. And I would like for you to be involved in that conversation, the special meeting that we'll have on it next month. And please keep us posted. If there's any pending issues, you have, contact with staff with Andrea, and they will get information to us. I think that we just need to get to the bottom of this and figure out how to. We're expanding our routes. We're doing a lot. We're talking about adding new buses and enhanced transportation, and that can't be if we don't have drivers to drive the buses and if they're dirty and unhealthy. It's more than an appearance. It's about what is the experience of Go Raleigh.
Okay. Madam Chair, we've had operators' families pass due to this virus. I'm not saying that they've contracted it through drivers or being close to the vehicles, but there's an impact there. So I think the seriousness of this is enough that we need to get on this in July. And I agree with you. Whatever I can do to help, please, let myself and the other board members know what we need to do in terms of meeting, and we'll do it.
And in between time, if we can get any information on this, on the retention of drivers, how many drivers we have, how many we've lost, I would like a report to the authority from the management, addressing this outside of an emotion, but data. How many people have we lost? How frequently are the buses being cleaned? Is there evidence of that? What routes are we missing? I would like for us to have some sort of report on that, because that's one thing that we have not had, I think, in the past, is something from management breaking down. I know it's in the agenda, but it being in our face and broken down to us on what's going on as a part of this, because we have to get to the bottom of it. And I mean, if this is the case, then we kind of have to get outside of whatever the issue is and address this immediately. I know that we are short on time. We're coming on 15 minutes to 5. Karen is not here on the marketing committee, so we don't really need to have that meeting. That was mostly about a special meeting about the ads. I know that we have to talk for the BRT update, but before we do that, can we close out with that and see if there's any updates from committee that need to be spoken on? If not, we can move them over.
We've got this is David Walker. we have 2 action items in the Finance Committee. If we can maybe take a look at those real quick, and then, you know, and that Michael may just be able to report those out and bring it to a vote.
Roshonda
has left the meeting.
You're muted, Michael.
Thanks. The first one is, it relates to the Glenwood Avenue service change. And Morgan had done the Title VI analysis. That's the to ensure it doesn't have adverse impact to communities. So she had done a very thorough report, and we reviewed it twice, and we approved it, recommending to bring it to the board for approval. If we had time, I mean, I guess Morgan could go through it, but I don't know if we do have time. But we did recommend for approval based on her report.
And this is David with the city. I do not think we had slides prepared for this. The report did show, as most of our previous Title VI reports for service implementation showed, that there were no disparate impacts on low income or I can't I can't think of all the
underserved or communities. Yeah.
All right, this is Morgan Simmons, Senior Planner. I can jump in real quick. So the report pretty much indicates that there were no disparate or disproportionate impacts to minority and low income. Yeah, those are the words. Low income populations. And that is a part of the Title VI service equity requirements. We're looking at constantly the adverse negative impacts to specifically low income and specifically minority communities. And so this particular system change will actually be a benefit to the area, because not only are we adding more frequency to the area, we're actually serving a larger population than before. And if there are any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Thank you for that, Morgan. Are there any questions, or would anybody like to make a motion?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to accept the Title VI report for the Glenwood corridor.
I'll second that. Brian Burnett.
Oh, hello, Brian.
Hey, guys.
All right, well, it's been moved and properly seconded. I will do the roll. Nathan Spencer.
Aye.
Michael Stevenson.
Aye.
Jennifer Truman.
Aye.
Morris Cook.
Aye.
Brian Burnett.
Aye.
Joshua Gill.
Aye.
LaPonda Edmondson.
Aye.
And I will abstain from voting. All right, so the next action item is the procurement manual.
Yes, and this is something that's required to be updated periodically. A lot of it has to do with conforming to federal standards for procurement and contracting and so forth. This was presented to us, and again, based on the information presented, we recommended forwarding to this board for approval.
All right, are there any questions around the procurement manual? Anybody want to do a quick synopsis on it, like Morgan just did with the Title VI?
Hi, this is Siobhan Tucker. I'm with the finance team with Transit. As Mr. Stevenson said, this is an existing document that we already have. It was approved by the board last in May 2016. A couple of years ago, there were some significant grant updates to grant requirements, otherwise known as uniform guidance. So most of the changes to the document were just to bring the manual in line with those new grant requirements. So this is just a regular manual update.
All right, thank you. Can we get a motion to approve, or anybody like to make a motion?
Madam Chair, I have just one quick question. Is this procurement of equipment only, or is this also for services?
I believe it's services as well, right?
It covers both.
Okay. And Michael, are you satisfied that it covers enough with regards to minority and women-owned businesses?
Well, my understanding is we have to conform to federal requirements, and yes, in as much as, yeah.
Is this something that we have to vote on today without, or do we have time to read it? I mean, read the updates ourselves so that we're not just going off of.
No, as far as transit staff is concerned, it does not have to be voted on today.
Okay, thank you. I would like for us to just have an opportunity because it sounds like, you know, people haven't had a chance to review the updates, and I wouldn't want anybody to vote blindly on this. So if we can move this to maybe our July meeting or our retreat where we'll have an opportunity to talk a little more about it and maybe even see what the guidelines are would be good. Thank you very much. Is there anything else from policy and finance?
That was all the action. I know we're running out of time. Did we want to get to the BRT update, David?
Looks like you all have about 9 minutes before the plug is pulled on that. So if you can get your auctioneer voice on, we can definitely run through this.
I will defer to Mila as to what she would like to do. I know she told me it's about a 15 to 20-minute presentation, and we're obviously not going to get through it. So Mila, you know, tell us what you'd like to do.
We can probably skip some of my initial slides and get to the middle of the presentation where we talk about current stations. I don't know, do we have Luke on the phone online?
Hi, Mila, I'm on.
Okay, so maybe let's just get to where we are showing our station areas, and I'll kick us off. I know this is a condensed through the presentation, but would like to just show you some of the highlights of the stations, and also maybe if we get to branding, we will be presenting this information at the June 15th council meeting. So there will be, just wanted to highlight that in case you would like to dial in and get more details that we will not be able to cover today in 8 minutes. So Luke, please take it over. Luke is with Neighboring Concepts. Luke is he's a part of the HNTB team. HNTB is the prime consultant on the project, taking from 30 to final design. So I know this is kind of like Luke jumping in the middle of presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I think it was about slide 10 of our slides. So yeah, here's I think the previous slide was the overall project schedule. So you can see where we are right now. 60% design complete was this past April. And essentially we're working through final design through the end of the year with anticipated construction starting next year, with BRT services starting next year, 2024. The design of the project has followed the 5 core goals. These were established back during 30% design, but really it's, you know, how do the BRT stations relate in scale and context to the neighborhoods that they're within, but then still providing this idea, uniformity, consistency for branding, for operations and maintenance, for transit styles and kind of the architectural design that's in the region, and then making sure we're fiscally responsible. So that includes both the first cost of the project, the maintenance costs, but then specifying materials that are, you know, local and regional to North Carolina. So trying to give back to our local population. The specific schedule for station design, we did a lot of public engagement back in the fall. We'll dive into the results of that briefly, but that really helped shape the design and the renderings and the conceptual design of the project. We got great feedback in the fall. Workshops continued through the winter, and then the final design with the various stakeholders was presented this past spring. And then this summer, we're essentially diving into the detail, executing the design that really was workshopped through with the various stakeholders on the project. So what did we hear? One examples of the public engagement was form, shape, and style of the station. So there's a lot of kind of either artistic or modern styles that they like to see. They didn't want to, the public and stakeholders didn't want anything traditional. But, along those lines, they wanted to make sure it was still warm, still approachable, and comfortable. So we should see what that looks like. I think that's the next slide here. Our station types. So across the BRT system, there's these 6 different BRT types, the station types. The urban core is in the city center. Intermodal would be kind of neighborhoods right outside the city center. Split island would be within a median. Peripheral stations are at the exterior of the line. They're scaled down and much smaller than suburban line. The suburban stations are exactly what they sound like, but they offer more privacy against residential neighborhoods for sound and visual privacy. And then a shared median would be a station that actually serves a BRT bus line on each side, but those do not currently exist on the New Bern Avenue project. And here's a map generally showing where those are. So again, urban core would be downtown, and then suburban, split island, and intermodal and peripheral as you work your way out from the city center. The conceptual station design essentially has a bold vertical element that serves as a wayfinding marker. It will have a touch screen display and an interface that provides route information, area mapping, and things like that. And then there's a canopy that's essentially a modular bay that can be extended, trying to achieve cost savings through prototyping, but then also being able to scale the station up and down based on urban context, the surrounding neighborhood, and things like that. Wanted to make sure that we're sensitive to the neighborhood that these are being set in. So this is a rendering of the intermodal station. You can see station amenities, feature seating, weather protection, ADA boarding, digital signage, real-time arrival information, off-board ticketing, emergency phone, art integration. We will have cell phone chargers. We're working to make these stations solar ready as well, so they can be, solar panels can be added to the roof and tied back to the grid.
Sorry, Madam Chair, could I interrupt for a second?
Yes, we only have 2 minutes.
In the spirit that we only have 2 minutes, I'd like to request that this item come back even after it's been to council, because I think that there are station access issues that we need to talk about. I love talking about pretty architecture as best as any other architectural designer, but people need to be able to walk to these and bike to them. And there are some real issues that we need to talk about and make sure get included before we get to 100% design.
I do agree. Can this be spoken to at council that this is something that we're still discussing in design in the art in the with the authority? That's a question to David or anybody.
This is Neela. We can certainly note that during the presentation we have presented during the work session.
Okay, and with the 2 minutes left, really quickly, have actual bus riders, I know that people in the area have been consulted, but have there been actual bus riders that have been tapped in and surveyed as far as what they feel about the design and its usefulness and effectiveness for them?
So we have the various public outreach methods, and we are actually working on the report, so we can include that question in our report and get back to the marketing committee.
Okay, if we can have people on the buses, that would be good, doing the surveying, instead of sending them out virtually, having a couple people on different routes, especially the routes that we're talking about for the urban, the suburban, for all of that, those main riderships, and have them have their input in, because what we don't want is to have it look good and it's there, but it's not safe. Somebody could hide somewhere and jump out, or anything that we may not be thinking when it comes to the effectiveness for the bus riders.
We did not have staff. I'm sorry. We did not have staff physically out on buses because we had to follow social distancing and current restrictions in place. But we did have boards posted at bus stops where people can essentially social distance method to provide their feedback if they didn't have access to the internet or smartphone or digital method. So we did try to do a non-virtual engagement at bus stops.
Okay, well, if we have the opportunity to jump back in that with capacity opening back up, that way we can just make sure that this, if they're happening, that they're done with the rider in mind also, their opinion in front. It looks like we're at 5. Are we off, David?
I'm not sure. In fairness, again, to David Walker, Mr. Bryant has asked if he can have just like 30 seconds to speak. General Manager for Go Raleigh, if that's okay with you.
All right. Thank you all for the presentation. All right, Mr. Bryant.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Walker. Thank you, Board. I'm going to speak very briefly with regard to the public comments today. With regard to Mr. Spencer's public comment, we did respond to his report with a memo that was delivered to, I think, the city and ultimately the board. We stand behind that memo and all its contents. With regard to Mr. Dewberry's comments, we are working hard with the union to make sure that everyone is having a healthy and happy workplace to come to. Specifically, one of the topics that he mentioned was with regard to COVID. Much of what he's discussed are personnel matters, and that includes Ms. Fallon's comments. So I won't be addressing those with any sort of detail. But certainly she did share her experience on Monday. And again, that's an open personnel issue that we can't really address. With regard to Mr. Dewberry's comments with COVID, we do not have 20, I just want to be clear, we do not have 25 cases of COVID. We actually have 0 currently. We have had COVID cases throughout the year, this past year, that all seem to be associated with spikes like many other employment places around the holidays and family gatherings. All our evidence has pushed us towards believing that there has been no transmission of COVID at Go Raleigh between employees that are not household members. So that's all I wanted to share. I know we're over time, so we look forward to responding to Operator Vaughn's and Mr. Dewberry's written reports when they submit them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant, for your response. I think it would be important, like I said, for us to have a special meeting with everybody involved, and so we can get to the bottom of this. And I appreciate your side of it as well. But we want to make sure that we're, we're addressing this because we want a happy environment, just like I'm sure you all do. So we want to make sure that we actualize that. And right now it seems like it may not be so. But I thank you for your willingness to work with us together on this while we get to this space, whatever that may be.